Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Happening. My name is Jorge Shaft, and I have got quite the show planned for you today. We're going to be talking about how Boris Johnson is breaking his image as the Green champion we've heard so much about in recent times. We're going to be talking about how, that environment? Yeah, that's not going to go anywhere in the United States, except maybe to the dustbin. And finally, we're going to be talking about a spate of violence in Bangladesh, which does not really look pretty. Catch you very, very soon on Relax Radio, only on The Happening.
Are you looking to achieve the most relevant qualification to kickstart your career? Then reward yourself with the best globally recognized professional business qualification, CIMA. Irrespective of the field you aspire to succeed in, a CIMA qualification can add immense value to your resume and professional life. Succeed in your CIMA journey with supportive tuition provided by qualified lecturers and resources. Nanaska is the leading registered CIMA tuition provider in Sri Lanka with over a decade in the industry and hundreds of success stories. With qualified and certified tutors, Nanaska now provides easy access 100% virtual classes so that you could succeed at your exams and in life right from the comfort of your home. At Nanaska, it's not just about a qualification. We help you think out of the box and build a personality. Exciting offers also await students overseas. Enroll now. Call +94 77 499 7338 or visit www.nanaska.com. Commence your CIMA journey at Nanaska and become a globally recognized leader. Nanaska, smile with results.
And welcome back to The Happening. My name is Jorge Shaft, and let's go dive straight into our first story today. I've got the Byline Times up for this. I like the Byline Times. Its tagline, "What the papers don't say," is very true. And we've got this article here from the 27th of October titled, "Government Quietly Cuts Commitment to Green Grants." Okay, what have we got? Chancellor Rishi Sunak has quietly cut hundreds of millions of pounds of Treasury investment, keeping households to become more environmentally friendly, days before the COP26 conference is set to be held in Glasgow. Some £1.5 billion was put aside by the Treasury last year for an ambitious programme to subsidise the insulation of 600,000 homes under the Green Grant Scheme. But, as the National Audit Office revealed last month, the scheme collapsed after the Department of Business, Energy and Industrial Strategy contracted out the administration of the vouchers to a US company, ICF, the US global consulting and technology company. The vouchers from ICF ended up failing, which cost a lot of money, and only a small fraction, only 47,000 homes, got actually insulated in the end. Now there's several things to unpack there already. First of all is the fact that, yes, it was budget season this week, and there's all the usual stories as the Chancellor of the Exchequer came up and talked about, yes, we're going to be doing all these different things in the budget. It's going to be great. And to be honest, sorry, I've got water because, throat. But to be honest, most of it was a bit kind of meh, I guess. There's a lot for sort of policy wonks as usual to really dissect, really kind of examine what was going on here, what to invest in. But I think this was the biggest thing. And it was something that was just quietly kind of slipped under without much fanfare or discussion, is the fact that the government, despite the fact it's just about to host a climate conference, is getting rid of various different initiatives that are all about protecting the climate. This one comes especially strangely in the wake of vast, regular, extremely disruptive protests by a group called Insulate Britain. Just this week, Insulate Britain, in fact, glued themselves onto a major road. And it was hours of delays and blocking. There was no ambulance could go through. It was a massive issue. And yet, the government is looking at this, seeing, oh, there's clearly like a hardcore of some kind, in Insulate Britain that wants to insulate homes. This is clearly an issue people are really passionate about. But you know what? We're still going to cut the funding to insulating homes. It doesn't make sense. The other one, there's been various other ones. COP26 is coming up. Big climate conference. It's going to be a big deal. All the sort of big government people be there. Sounds good, right? But yet the government is still cutting green energy. It's still cutting into, doing something about the environment. So what could possibly make you think, is doing this? Well, the Byline Times also has another article that might tie into what's going on. COP26 president, this is the title, received funding from billionaire fossil fuel investor tied to ExxonMobil. Alok Sharma, the British MP appointed head of the United Nations Climate Summit, received donations from a businessman behind a $1 billion oil and shipping company. He is the latest sort of person who's going to be heading a UN climate summit. It'll be in Glasgow in January of 2021. It was going to be held. The last one was in January 2021. Sorry about that. And he's the MP for Reading West. According to data in the Parliamentary Register of Financial Interests, Sharma received a total of £10,000 from Dr. Ravi Kumar Mehrotra, the executive chairman of Foresight Group International. Foresight Group is a $1 billion UK-based global conglomerate of interests in offshore and onshore oil drilling, port and gas infrastructure, and shipping. It also works closely with partners involved in climate science denial and pro-carbon lobbying, including oil giant ExxonMobil. The company's chairman also has links to individuals involved in the Trump-Russia affair. The funds came in the form of two political donations of £5,000 in January of 2020 and £5,000 in June of 2017. Data from the Electoral Commission seen by Byline Times confirms that Dr. Mehrotra also made 3 other donations to the Conservative Party in November 2019, May 2017, and September 2008, totaling over £10,000. Now things are coming a bit together, aren't they? So we have a Conservative government who have come up and they talked all about the budget and how much they were going to, do for the country, which was nothing, but they're still going for the whole big spiel. They're going to be hosting this big climate summit, big conference in Glasgow. And the guy who's in charge, the president of the summit, is a guy with links to oil and gas. He is also a Conservative MP who is pretty influential, I'll put it like that, in the government as it is. With this massive conflict of interest of tens of thousands of pounds directly linked to the very industries that we should, with green energy, be, degrade and weaken. It's corrupt, in other words. Completely, brazenly, utterly corrupt. We have a Conservative Party who, they talk this big talk of, oh, well, we're actually the greenest party. We're the ones who are going to be doing the most about the environment. They talk this big talk about, oh, we're actually the ones who are going to, help out emissions by insulating homes. And yet, they don't. And the reason they don't isn't because of some ideological reason, isn't because they sincerely believe in doing something else. It's not because they're just bought and paid for by the interests that doing something about the climate would go against. And, they act like good little puppies that take their money, do exactly what they're told, and then don't, and then laugh with all their cash while the planet dies. Well, what do you think? Let me know in the comments. I always make a point of reading the comments as they come up. But for now, I hear there's other people out there. Scary. It is real scary, I know. But if you let me, guide you through this really troubling times, I hope we'll get there in the end. See you soon. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to The Happening. My name is Jorge Shaft, and boy, has been a lot happening this week. I've discussed already the Conservative Party budget, its whole kind of, ideas and its myth of, we're actually really caring about the environment. We're actually the Green Party here. Meanwhile, we find out that Alok Sharma, the MP who's there going to be the president of the United Nations summit in Glasgow soon, is bought and paid for by oil billionaires. Meanwhile, at the same time, the government cuts away funding towards insulating homes, even though there's been massive, very, very disruptive protests by a group called Insulate Britain to try and not reverse that. Probably because they're also bought and paid for in that video. But let's move on, away from the corruption, as hard as that might be, to more corruption. Yay! So in the United States, I've been talking over and over and over again about the fact that the United States wants to pass this infrastructure bill. $3.5 trillion building what's honestly really uncontroversial stuff. Fixing roads, fixing railways, fixing dams. Hey, maybe we should have a new road here and there. A bit more electricity, perhaps, to poorer communities. Really uncontroversial stuff, let's be real, for the most part. There were also, because it's US politics, lots of extra stuff that was tacked onto the bills. But again, most of it was really not all that controversial. Bit of paid family leave, bit more funding towards daycare, bit of extra funding towards there was something like about veterans welfare, just good normal stuff. But so far, all being blocked by two senators, really. One of them, Joe Manchin, Democrat of West Virginia, who I discussed last week. He's got his family owns a coal company, and so all of this talk of, oh, maybe we should have some green energy investment is all like, ooh, spooky. And then there's Kirsten Sinema, Arizona Democrat, who has been flagrantly going on a path of, yeah, I'm just here to make money. I go to do all the donors, just go to all the donors, chat to the rich people who pay my bills, and oh look, a lot of them are oil and gas too, and the people be damned. Well, the sad part is they are cutting, and they basically won. On Thursday morning, says MSNBC in an article titled "Joe Manchin and Kirsten Sinema make it about themselves till the very end." It was, quote, "On Thursday morning, the White House unveiled a framework for the Democrats' massive budget package. And surprisingly, after months of negotiations that seemed to be going nowhere, it looked pretty good. Yet, on Friday morning, the bill was still hanging in the balance because of Joe Manchin and Kirsten Sinema, two of the most selfish senators I've seen, or MSNBC has seen, in decades following national politics. For months, these two have bullied the White House and progressive Democrats into bending to their will. Key liberal priorities such as paid family leave and medical leave, measures to reduce prescription drug costs, provide 2 years of free community college, and repeal key elements of the Trump tax cuts have been jettisoned. The total cost of the bill has been cut in half, from $3.5 trillion to about $1.75 trillion, all to satisfy Manchin and Sinema's demands. House progressives have begrudgingly accepted these changes because most seem to understand that even half a loaf is better than none. But they have maintained one unshakable and eminently reasonable demand. They would not vote on the massive infrastructure bill supported by these two until the two made clear their support for the budget package. Yet, Thursday, Manchin and Sinema were still refusing to make their intentions clear. Seemingly, the two attention-starved senators can't bear to give up the media spotlight they have hogged onto themselves. By making it all about them, Manchin and Sinema are making it increasingly difficult for Democrats to focus on what their budget would accomplish. And to paraphrase Joe Biden, that would be a pretty big deal. All of this effort, and I've been here on The Happening talking about it over and over and over again. You can look on the Relax Radio backlog on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch. I've again and again come on here and I've talked about how the infrastructure bill and the budget package is full of really good things that all reasonable and sane people should be supporting, and yet they're not. And it looks set to just fail. Democrats will probably lose the House then in 2022 because they've just spent 2 years doing absolutely nothing whatsoever. And two corrupt senators are going to joyfully skip and hop away to their donors saying, hey, look, we stopped all the green energy stuff for you. Give us money now. It makes you sick. It really does. It was an obvious, incredibly uncontroversial bill that was just full of good things for the United States. And yet it's already been cut in half. And yet still, even after being cut in half, with all the good things that were in there, cut away, jettisoned, it is now just sitting it. I've just gotten a comment here saying they aren't supporting it because there's a lot of money behind the scenes with regards to lobbyists. Yeah, that's my point. They're corrupt, they're being bribed, they've stopped good things from happening, and now here we are discussing, yeah, nothing's happening. The bill's been cut yet again this week. More good stuff jettisoned, and yet the result is still a kind of a, yeah, well, oh, but but our donors really, they really want to, have me be more corrupt. The really sad part about this, and I discussed this on The Happening, is that other countries have similar bills and they pass them without effort. India just passed a bill that was basically the same infrastructure bill. It's like, hey, yeah, we've got like roads and bridges and like, need for green energy. It's almost exactly modeled off the US one. And they just passed it without any issues. It's like, yeah, obvious to everyone, we should do it. The only question that has been plaguing my mind now has been what we can do about this. That you could propose all the usual kind of ways of pushing elected officials to do things. But the truth is, in this case, it's been tried. Mansion and Cinema get like thousands of calls from their own constituents every single day saying support this goddamn bill, which is not a surprise because everything in the bill has more than 60% support across the states. They've been directly protested. Joe Manchin 3 weeks ago when he was at his yacht. Kirsten Sinema 2 weeks ago when she went to the bathroom and suddenly there was people who followed her in and she's like, no, still going for it. The main reason is because Joe Manchin, despite being a registered Democrat, has all his family involved in coal and petrol. I make that exact point. This is the problem, or a big problem. We have two senators who should be who should be acting like Democrats, but instead being the corrupt party and hogging all the spotlight, blocking any progress. The worst part then is what's going to happen. 2022, it looks set for the Democrats to lose, which, let's be real, they probably will deserve to, because they've not done anything in 2 years. They can get the most obvious and simple infrastructure bill passed. Pathetic. But then the Republicans are going to take charge. They'll do their usual insane, deluded psychopath stuff and shift everything more right wing. It's called the ratchet effect, and it's been very strongly sort of in evidence for decades now. Just look at, some of the welfare and the subsidized stuff, even from Reagan's time. My mother, who's an American, went to university for less than $1,000 for her a year. And even if you look at the inflation, it checks out to being way less. Yet, all the stuff about the community colleges in the bill has been cut because Manchin and Sinema say, nah, we don't want to support that. So it's gone. The Republicans, being insane, delusional psychopaths under Mitch McConnell, are laughing their heads off. They're like, yeah, we wouldn't support that anyway. Poor people going to university. So my question now, I go out to these comments, is what we can do about this. It seems like all the normal methods of influencing people isn't working because, hey, we've got corrupt people who don't want to do anything. And the normal means of protest don't work. And it's a two-party system under the first past the post, which I've railed against many times. First past the post is the worst way you could do an election. It really is. Which means that it's either the corrupt party or the party being blocked by corrupt people or the party that's going to make things actively worse. Honestly, the Democrats need to take a stance like how Bernie and AOC did. They did. And actually, this past year, my respect for the Progressive Caucus has actually really shot up. This is the first time I've ever seen the progressives in the Senate and in the House actually hold the line on anything and go no, this is really popular. We need to do this because it's obvious to everyone we should. But yeah, the Democrats often do just cave in. It's really sad, but it is what it is. What's also sad is that sometimes other people have a talk. I know, right? Terrible thing. Let's see what those other people have to say. I'll catch you all again very, very soon. Hi everyone, and welcome back to The Happening. My name is Jorge Shaft, and we've been discussing various things at the moment, haven't we? I've been discussing how in the UK, the Conservative Party, despite making a lot of a big show of, being green, surprise, they cut all sorts of green stuff in the budget, and then it turned out also that Alok Sharma, the Conservative Party MP, who's going to be the president of the United Nations Climate Commission, the summit, COP26, has taken tens of thousands of pounds from this oil billionaire who, why an oil billionaire gives you money if you're a politician. Probably related things, those two, aren't they? I also talked about how in the United States there's been, there's this big infrastructure bill that was going to be passed, except it's not, because there's two senators who are really corrupt, even though they're Democrats, who've decided to just block everything because, they're getting money, again, from oil and gas and coal, and they don't want any of these things fixed. As folks in your area might say, the climate is buggered and it needs a proper fix, mate. I'm sorry if that's a horrible take. Just watch a lot of British politics. Yep, climate is pretty buggered and it really does need a proper fix. But oh no, rich people who make money off oil are paying our politicians to not do anything about the climate, so nothing's happening. Yay! Let's go try something completely different. And I wish I had a good story here, but fortunately it's really not. I've got The Guardian up here for this, with an article titled, Hindu-Muslim Violence Crosses Border from Bangladesh to India. Uh-oh, that's not a good start. It was early morning when Achitya Das, a 55-year-old teacher in the city of Kumilla in Bangladesh, was woken up by the ringing of his mobile phone. On the other end of the line was a fearful, stricken voice. Come quickly, the local told him. Something very grave had happened. A Quran had been found in the shrine that was recently erected for the upcoming Hindu festival of Durga Puja. the Islamic holy books had been placed on a statue of the Hindu god Hanuman. Das, a Hindu who organized the festival in Camilla, felt dread. It didn't take him a second to not understand the gravity. An incident then on the 13th of October set off some of the worst anti-Hindu attacks in years, which left 7 people dead. The violence seeped over the border into the neighboring Indian state of Tripura, where more than a dozen retaliatory rallies by right-wing Hindu group Vishva Hindu Parishad and others escalated into violence and anti-Muslim attacks. Muslim residents were terrorized, Muslim shops were torched, and at least 16 mosques were vandalized, of which 4 were set alight, in violence that began on the 21st of October and has continued into this past week. Of course, there's been the usual sort of denunciations from official sources, both Bangladesh and Indian government making pious. Oh, we condemn violence. Violence is a bad thing. That area is really rough in regards to religious relations between Muslims and Hindus, says a comment. There's been a ton of violence on both ends. Yep, and that's my story this week. It's been yet another flare-up, yet more people being killed, more vandalism, more damage, and more bad blood being brewed in the process. As the comment has rightly pointed out, it is an area that has really rough religious relations and has done for a long time. Bangladesh is a country where it keeps happening that people, to be blunt, people keep getting murdered for religious differences. I followed for a while very closely when there was a whole spat of murders in the 2010s of atheist bloggers and writers who very bravely were going online saying, hey, here's what we believe. I don't believe in any religion, only to be rewarded by being murdered in the street. One even just in public, just gunned down. And the authorities going, oh no, a guy who's like not our main religion is being murdered for their religion. Oh, what a shame! What a shame! It's depressing, and I really worry. This is not the first time either that in India, especially with Hindu nationalist leader Modi in charge, that there's just been riots and violence. Last year, if you remember, in Delhi, at one point, there was a huge anti-Muslim riot that sprung up. Hundreds of people were injured. Dozens of buildings were torched and burned, cars destroyed, and about a dozen or so people were killed. And of course, you think about what happens after these sorts of things. It only gets worse. Violence begets violence. Hatred begets more hatred. And we have a government, both in Bangladesh and in India, who play into it, who kind of sit and go like, yeah, well, but like I remember in Bangladesh at one point, there was a speech by one of their main officials after one of these outbreaks of violence that kind of went like, yeah, but they should have really considered not being Muslim, right? Personal opinion, this is why I don't like religion. It says everyone in their religion thinks they're right and the other's religion's wrong. Yeah, I completely agree myself. Long been very, very active in kind of like secularist circles. I generally am very humanist in my sort of approaches and values. And I don't like organized religion. But that does remain now the question of what to do about it. And the obvious answer is, of course, some kind of de-escalation and reconciliation. You get people together peacefully and make them work together in that area. But in order for that to happen, another thing seems fairly obvious. There needs to be a government that actually believes in that. Modi at the moment is a Hindu nationalist president who stokes the flames of religious differences on the regular. The Bangladeshi government, such as its competences exist, often rests on a power base of, oh yeah, but we're really pious people. We're really super religious, and we really believe in making sure that our religion is the right way. So it seems fairly obvious that a first step towards having reconciliation, making sure that something gets done, is to replace the governments. Say what you will about the Congress party, but this was very infrequently under Congress or when they're in charge. Perhaps they should be voted in again next time. I don't know. That's just my take. What do you think? If you have a strong opinion, especially if it's a educated take, feel free to really leave a comment below. I've had a viewer on Twitch today. Thank you very much, Elsat, for your comments. They've been very appreciated. And I always like to read my comments and learn from them. But today I'm going to have to go because I've got a place to go, people to see. But don't worry. On Relax Radio, there are lots of other different presenters on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch. And they have lots of really good, interesting things to say. So I'll catch you all again very, very soon next week. And have a good day. Bye.